Hey guys, so this video right now is actually just for my private Facebook only. I'm not making it public. I'm not putting it on my YouTube channel yet because I don't want Onions found the channel to see it and like poke the bear until his time period has passed. Just wanted to talk about the fact that, I know I've had a lot of people talk to me, message me, or comment and say things like, oh, you're so fierce, you're so strong, hear mama roar, and I love and appreciate all that. I definitely feel that way a lot of times, but I'm still human. I don't always feel that strong or that way. I get to the point where like I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I'm beaten down, and overwhelmed. That's kind of where I'm at right now because with all of this court shit going on, like my kids have completely regressed. It's hard to deal with as a mom. It's hard to see them that way. It's hard to figure out how to help them. And the most frustrating part for me is like I know he's like a narcissistic abuser. Like it wouldn't faze him. He doesn't care. He gets joy. He would get joy out of it. But it's like you're doing all of this shit, and all you're doing is causing everybody else more pain and more grief. I'm the one who has to fix the things that you're breaking. When we first moved to Wisconsin, Emelina was 3.5, and with everything that was going on, she had completely quit talking. The school actually labeled her as selectively mute, and anytime anybody would ask her to do something or try to direct her to something, she would panic and cry. Worked so hard to get her to A, not be mute, but then to communicate, to use words, identify emotions. Like, when we started therapy and they labeled her like with adjustment disorder and whatnot, it was like, okay, well, let's help her. Let's, start getting her to try and use her words versus her body. And she had recently made a ton of progress in terms of starting to label different feelings and having actual conversations. And in the last week for sure, but probably 2 weeks, like she's completely regressed. She won't name her feelings. You can tell she's struggling. But she won't talk about it. She'll just suck on her fingers and mumble and moan or scream. She will throw toddler-like tantrums and, kick the crap out of the bed, and throw her body around and things like that. She's back to having these horrible, horrible nightmares. And she'll talk in her sleep, and so I can kind of get the gist of what she's dreaming about. But yeah, and so we went to Kids Hit Therapy today. Her therapist had actually asked to talk to me alone before she met with her, because she wanted to make sure we were on the same page, and she was concerned too, because she's regressing. And she'd asked me what I was seeing at home with her, and I said, it's like she's a toddler all over again. So I don't know how to help her. I want to help her when I see her hurting, when I see her scared, when I see her screaming, when I see these old behaviors come back. I said, I want to help her. I said, but she won't communicate with me. She won't tell me what's wrong. Or she'll make a comment, and then she'll shove her fingers in her mouth and suck on them and say, oh, nope, never mind. And so we know she's testing the waters. She likes to be attached to me 24/7. Therapist said that's because I'm her safe person. And she's drawing all these pictures where she's depicting that she's inside this house. The last picture she showed me, she drew a house. She drew herself inside the house, but she drew herself kind of crudely, and it had a sad, angry kind of face. And I was outside of the house and had a sad face, and I asked her about it. She said, she was inside, I was outside, couldn't get to her. So she's having all of these thoughts and fears that I'm going to disappear. Something's going to happen to me. And she won't tell me what she needs. I ask her a lot of times, she just gets more upset. And as a mom, that's like heartbreaking. When it comes to, even her therapist was like, obviously we can't have her write what she's feeling because with her delay, she struggles with that. So what other avenue can we use? So today we decided that we were going to use pictures, that we were going to give her a journal and have her, just draw when she was struggling to try and communicate whatever it is that's bothering her in that moment, in that time. I just want my little girl back. I want to see her happy again. I want to see her not scared. I don't want her to be worried about me. And then there's Kiva, who's also regressed. Even if she decides to fall asleep and sleep like 5 feet away from me, she wakes up in the middle of the night, she panics, and then she wakes me up and then asks if it's okay if she can lay on the floor by my side of the bed. I've tried telling her, like, she never has to ask, like, it's fine, like, you could sleep there. But she's going through similar things as Em. She's terrified that I'm gonna get hurt, that he's dangerous and they're gonna lose their mom. Nothing I say ever seems to make it better. Nothing I do ever seems to make it better. There's no convincing them because he's evil. I guess there's no other way to put it. You can't get around the fact that he's evil. And then, she dissociates. And those are really hard to watch. We have kind of like a protocol of what we do when that happens, in terms of, lightly tapping, like, her leg or her hand. But if you ever look up just videos of dissociation and what people do from having experienced sexual abuse and trauma, it's heartbreaking, it's sickening. Like, my heart crumbles, and at the same time I'm pissed because I'm like, how in the hell could you have ever done that to our children? And how can you keep doing that to them? Why do people keep letting you do this? I don't understand. My son's anger has amped back up. And he's made comments, and, he's gotten a little bit aggressive at times. Because he's frustrated. He either wants it to be over or he wants to talk to a damn judge. And nothing I say makes that any better. Their therapists have been working their damnedest with them, trying hard, trying to reiterate different things, trying to make them less scared. And in the moment they'll be like, yeah, I heard you, but like it doesn't sink in at all. And then I have to deal with my own emotions, because as strong as I am, as much as I put on the fight face, the fact that I'm like, you're not knocking me down anymore, when I see his name pop up, when I see the fact that I have to freaking go to court with him again, I get disgusted, like I want to throw up, terrified. Like, it's not safe. Like, I feel like I keep getting thrown out as a target, and nobody who should care is caring. Nobody who can make it stop is making it stop. And then I have to sit there, and I'm a single mom of 4. I have to pretend like I don't feel these things. I have to pretend like I'm not scared, because then that's going to scare them. And then so I have to wait for those super quiet little moments in the day, which aren't very many. And that's when I can allow myself to feel those things. Like, I don't think people understand what it's like, not only being in domestic violence, but surviving domestic violence. the fact that you have an abuser who won't leave you alone, but also raising children who have experienced domestic violence and have experienced every form of child abuse imaginable. It's not a cakewalk. It's not like I'm this evil woman who ran away with my kids and was like, I'm just going to keep them to myself. I legally ran away with my kids to keep them safe, and to this day they still don't feel safe because he won't leave us alone. Even though every time he's gone to court, he's just been denied everything, or he's dug himself a deeper hole. And I'm so tired. I'm so sick of it. I mean, I've lost 6 pounds in the last 5 days, just from being stressed, from not sleeping, and whatnot. And I feel like the people who need to be hearing me aren't hearing me. I feel like they're not even listening at all. Another thing that came up at therapy today, because I was giving the receptionist our new order for protection, so they had it on file, and they knew that they weren't and could not release any information. Obviously the therapists know that, but the receptionist wouldn't, know that right off the bat and whatnot. And we were having this conversation, and she was looking at Kiva's chart, and she was like, there's a notice for a motion in here. I was like, what do you notice for what motion? I'd asked her if it was for like coming up here in February, because I just noticed last night that we have a freaking evidentiary hearing on February 12th at 8 a.m. that I don't know how the hell I'm going to make happen without abandoning my children, which I'm not going to do, but I'm also not going to go to court, so I'm like stuck between a rock and a freaking hard place. And she said she didn't know, she couldn't really read it. Put a message in to her therapist to call me, and then she called me actually when we were in the parking lot, because they have staggered appointments, and we had like just left, even though she had been out of therapy for like an hour almost. And she's like, hey, I got this message that you wanted me to call you. And I said, yeah, the receptionist is telling me you have this, there's in Kiva's file, there's this notice for a motion. I said, were you subpoenaed for court in February? And she's like, no, this was a different motion. And I was like, well, a motion for what? And she's like, oh, well, I think you gave this to us. And I'm like, I've never given you a motion. I've always emailed you guys and called you guys to keep you up to date with like what's going on, or, asked for letters, things like that. I've never had a motion to give you. So I'm not sure what this is. So she was trying to read it, and she starts reading it. And it was a motion from Kyle and his therapist or whatever to get the kids his fucking therapy records. And I was like, well, when the hell was that? When did that happen? I'm like, because Minnesota courts in August of 2018 said no, he could not have those. And the judge in Wisconsin said he could not have those. So when the hell did this happen? And she said it was in September. She's like, oh, it was right before I was writing that like first letter for you. So I thought, she's like, I could have swore it came through. And I was like, no, I've never seen a motion requesting her therapy records. I know he's wanted them. I've heard of them at court hearings where, his attorney's being a dink and saying they're entitled to them, but they've always been shot down. I said, that didn't come from me. I don't know where that came from. I certainly wouldn't have like Kyle's motion just to give to you. And I started to panic, and I was like, oh my God, did you give him anything? Because he can't have anything. And being the little fireball that she is, she kind of laughed, and she was like, fuck no. She's like, oh, excuse me, that's not very professional. And I said, that's okay. I'm like, I actually kind of appreciate it right now. I'm glad you did. She's like, I would never give him anything. She's like, and they can't make me give him anything. And then, so she assured me that no records had been released, but I'm like, really sounds like he's trying to freaking circumvent the system here. I don't know what happened. I don't know where this motion came from, how the hell it came about, why it only applied to Kiva's chart. But it makes me sick, and it makes me feel not safe, and it's not fucking fair. Like, I am sick of this. Then we proceed to start talking about, this evidentiary hearing, and if they were to get subpoenaed, and she's telling me how much they charge. And then she's like, we hate being subpoenaed, because when I was asking if she had gotten subpoenaed for this, because that's what I thought this motion originally was, she had said that, she's like, well, we hate getting subpoenaed. She's like, excuse me, that leaf scared me. She's like, you know, and in this instance, she's like, I still wouldn't like it. She's like, would I like the extra money in my pocket? Yeah, because she's like, he's essentially paying me to tear him apart in court. Because she's like, he ain't getting nothing from me. She's like, I will put him in his place. I'll tell him what's up. Like, no. So I was like, okay. I'm like, well, I knew you would. Like, I know. You've been with us from the beginning. You've been very adamant and a very good advocate for Kiva. And very adamant that he shouldn't have a contact with anybody. So, I'm not worried about you being subpoenaed. But I just want to know if that's what this was. And she just said no. She hasn't seen anything like that yet. And whatnot. I think she kind of almost hopes that he does subpoena her, because she really wants to like be like, hey, listen. Then she proceeds to tell me that she had had a conversation with Kiva, you know, because Chandler's been very vocal and adamant that he wants to talk to a judge, he wants to go to court, he wants to testify, no matter what. And that had Kiva kind of worried, like, was she gonna have to go to court? Was she gonna have to testify? Because she said she's terrified of him. She doesn't want to see him. And so her therapist had reassured her that if that ever happened, she would write into the court and request that, you know, a screen be put up between her and him, so he can't stare at her and she can't see him. Judge wouldn't, I mean, she was telling me this part, you know, the judge wouldn't have to do it, but that's what she would do. So she was telling Kiva, like, you know, don't have to worry about this. Like, there's precautions we can take to make this at least as dramatic as possible. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just take one step at a time. So, like, this is the crap that I'm dealing with every fucking day. Like, you know, while he files his motions and goes about his day, he doesn't have any ramifications to these actions. I do, and I have to deal with them 24/7. It's not fair. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I want a fucking break. Like, just go away for a while, would you? I wish somebody else would stand up, like powers that be, and say, go away. Like, you can't do this anymore. Like, sit down and shut up. You know how you told your wife to sit down and shut up when you were abusing her? I'm telling you now, you need to learn that same attribute. Sit down and shut up. You're not getting anything. Leave these people alone. Stop harassing them. Stop stalking them. Stop intimidating them. I don't know if that'll ever happen. So, yeah, that's my ramble. That's my vent. Obviously, it was a lot, way too much that I was going to type out, and I wasn't about to do that because I'm exhausted. This isn't like I'm giving up or anything like that. Like, I will fight like a fucking lion till the end. But I'm also human, and I think a lot of people forget that when they talk to me or when they see me. They just see me as this big solid rock. And while that's great, I am not a solid rock. I would love to be a solid rock. I would like to not be emotionally affected by this, but it's impossible. To not be, not just for myself, but because of what I have to watch my kids go through, what I have to watch them experience, what I have to experience as a parent trying to fix it and to make it better and to do all these things. And he just gets away with it. He gets to laugh and he gets to go on about it. I don't have that luxury. And I can't wrap my brain around it because I can't imagine ever doing any of these things to my kids. I can't imagine hitting them. I can't imagine threatening them. I can't imagine sexually abusing them. I can't imagine making them so terrified of me that they can't even hear my name. And then continuing to push their buttons to make them more afraid of me. I don't understand. I will never understand that. And I hope to God I never do, because there has to be something seriously wrong with your brain to do those things and then to be okay with it and to keep doing it. So that's my rant. Thanks for listening.